Oh, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Mental Men.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
How natural. How are
Yeah.
you?
Oh, I'm okay. Had some technical issues, but we're good to go.
Yeah.
So I think today the word of the day is burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any experiences with burnout?
Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
you'd
Me
jump right
too.
into something, but
Yeah.
I want to start with I don't know if this is exactly burnout, but I used to love getting off on like a Friday. And I remember for some reason when I had this one construction job on Fridays, it was one of the few, I've had very few jobs in my life that I worked, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, that kind of thing. And that was one of the first ones I did.
Yeah.
And so Friday, I was just like, I'd love it, like drive home, music blaring, sunroof open, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, when I got off work this Friday, I'm driving home and I just felt like numb. It was like I had felt like I had this like pit in my stomach that I could not get rid of, and I was like, I didn't even want to have a beer or like. Usually I think, oh, I want to eat junk food or have a beer or something, and
Yeah.
I was just like, no, nothing's gonna help with this time. Just gotta live with it.
You mean just a few days ago?
Yeah, this
So
Friday.
what was that feeling?
I think it was like some kind of weird anxiety.
Was it? Did you? I mean,
I
what
just
was it? Just
eventually
like
went away. I don't know.
like I don't know, an emptiness or something, or like what?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. Like some sort of weird emptiness I felt. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think? What do you think the connection to burnout is with that? Is
Well, I
it?
think it's maybe a sign I need to like take a vacation or take a break, something.
Yeah. Is it quite a lot of work lately, or is it any changes?
No, it's just so many things going on in our life. Like living with the in-laws right now and the kids in winter is such a big one.
Yeah.
You can't leave the house. Like it's nice now, but
Yeah.
it's like so soul crushing.
It is. Yeah, this is our second one, and whoa, it's intense. Especially like, okay, the past few days or whatever was nice, but there's like what 3 weeks before then that was just minus 25, and you're just like, again, like,
Yeah.
Even walking Baka, she's just like doesn't want to walk. She just lift her paws right away and just a short little walk and come back. It's like so hard to just get out, right?
Oh yeah.
That is really hard mentally, especially for Jess. Like that's I think it causes a lot of like isolation and distance, and it starts playing with my mind sometimes where
Yeah.
it's like 4:30 and it's super dark and you're like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it'll be like 7:30 and you're like, still there's that's it. Like, yeah, it's insane.
Just want this goddamn day to end.
Yeah. But what do you think in your like definition? What do you think? What do you see burnout as? Is it?
Basically, just like you're at the end of your rope of work or whatever you're working on, like work, school, kids.
Yeah.
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 What about you?
For me, it's just more running on fumes where it's just, I experienced it multiple times in the past year and a half at that job because
But the writing one, the
the
AI
AI one, yeah. Because it was like, they put all the responsibility onto you, right? So, and with the hourly thing, it's like, okay, I want to work more and more and like get as much as I want, right? But there's always something when you try to want something, there's always something you have to sacrifice, right? And for me, it's either there's like three main categories in life. There's like your career, your relationships, and your health. And if you got to choose two, which would those be? And for me, it's always I sacrifice my health, always. And as I'm getting older, I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, like I just thought sometimes I just thought I was invincible,
yeah.
and I definitely have start feeling that as I get older, right?
Yeah, I think you feel that when you're young. You always feel invincible.
Yeah. And, I think staring at a computer like 9, 10 hours a day and like having to read like reams of text it started to play with my eyeballs. And then my eyes would just start hurting so much. And then my brain would just like get so exhausted sometimes, like at like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And, I would have just a little bit of rest and then I have to wake up and then it starts again.
Yeah.
And you are like in hyper mode, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us with, on computers, social media, phones, it's just we're always in that like defense mode almost.
Yeah.
Like you just feel that stress, that like tension. And I think, especially with like when we were raised with that stuff, I grew up with that stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't think we know the side effects of all of looking at a freaking monitor for 10 hours a day for 30 years, right? We're like the first generation to really do that, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I get like it's like tennis elbow, but it's just from sitting, typing.
Yeah. I never had that yet. I know some people who have.
Yeah.
What is it? Just that, like,
It's something about I can't remember, like tension in your forearm, like holding it all day.
Oh.
Because you get the same thing when you can get it when you're playing badminton or tennis, that kind of thing. And I don't know, it's some sort of the muscle here gets too tight. And anyways, then you try to like rest your elbow, and it's like a shooting pain up your arm. It sucks.
I've never had those shooting pains in my body yet, but I guess I have something to look forward to, right? But
You should go see a doctor if you have shooting pains.
yeah, speaking of doctor, I have my surgery booked. Yeah,
Oh, sweet. When?
April 3rd.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like a 20-minute surgery, and you got to call them the day before. They give you the time at the Rocky View, or I guess I shouldn't say that, but yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm a little somewhat scared of that because it's my first surgery ever, and who knows? So, they got
true,
to
I guess.
cut my belly button.
No, they're gonna leave like a pair of scissors in there.
Yeah. I'll wake up like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Have you experienced any burnout, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking to you earlier when we were kind of going over the project.
Yeah.
I work 3 jobs basically. I mean, my main one, which is 40 hours a week, and then I deliver food, and I also ref dodgeball. And so there are times when it's like we need money and stuff, and it's just extra cash to do whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm the one out there all the time, right? Because my wife's at home. So there are times when I come home and I'm just like, it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and I'm just like, my wife will talk to me and I'm like, I don't want to, my brain can't even compute what you're saying. I'm so drained,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, like it's just, I don't want to have, so I'll just play video games and I'll just look at the screen. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just like something which is just causing more pain, right? So it's hard, but I think it's important to recognize when you have burnout, and I'm bad at that. Like Caitlin points that out to me. She's like, "You're burnt out.
Yeah.
Like take a night off."
Yeah.
And I'm bad for that because I'm always like, "Go." So,
Me too. I'm really bad.
yeah,
I'm
it's
just
awful.
like
I don't
keep
know when I need
pushing
a
it.
break. Yeah, I don't know when I need a break.
Yeah. Me either.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a problem, I think. Like we just think we can get away with it, right? But it's like it is affecting our body, right?
Especially our age now, we can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like I'm not like we're not 80, but
Basically on death's door.
Yeah.
Getting my hip replaced.
Yeah. But still, you're right though. Like growing up, we are like the first generation to look at screens and stuff, and we don't think about it.
Yeah.
But now it's just
I also think it really messes with you, like looking at your phone all day. And because now, I don't know, you're not relaxing your brain either.
Yeah. And then I feel like there's two kind of modes. Like we grew up more with discovery mode, like where, like for example, I would go to Blockbuster and be like, oh wow, look at this movie, this is cool, right? Like that's how I would learn, right? Like, or I go to the library, pick up a random book, be like, oh shit, this is amazing. But now we're just in all defense mode, which is like the stress mode. And, looking at that phone all the time, it's just like when you put it down, you're like thinking about it too.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, it's when you're off of it, it's like a drug, right?
It's honestly one of the reasons I barely post anything on like Instagram and all that, because I don't want to worry about getting likes or who's seen it, that kind of thing. So I just don't post anything because
Yeah.
it's just easier that way.
So you're more of a watcher.
Yeah. I'm a voyeur.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting topic. I would actually like to do a pod on voyeurism because I think a lot of us are watchers now. Yeah. And we like to sit back and laugh at people and
That's true, yeah.
be entertained. But that's a whole other pod. But yeah, for me, I mean, yeah, multiple times, especially with writing, it can be just a super, like, all the deadlines that I would have.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh shit, like I have to get this done, and there's no option. And there's my first big writing job I took, that was 2017, and they wanted me to write 12 episodes, 1 hour each episode.
Okay.
So that's about 720 pages right there. And then you got to do like 3 drafts of that. So that's about 2,000 whatever pages. And they're like, can you do that in 3 months? I'm like, are you joking? Like, but I was desperate at that time.
Yeah.
And it was my first big writing job. So I said, yeah, I can do that. And then when we started to get into the process and like work together and stuff, have all these meetings to talk about the story, it became clear that it was just a super unrealistic like objective, right?
Yeah.
But it was at a time in China that they had such like high expectations and such arrogancy as well. And like so ambitious, right? That was the guy I told you who was a workaholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he expected me to do that, and then it was just like, no, at a certain point we realized like 2 months in, like that's impossible. I need more time. So he hired another writer to help me. His name's Ethan. If you're out there, hi Ethan. And he was a Australian Chinese guy. Pretty good writer, but we would have meetings together all the time and just to shoot the shit and like see where we could go with the story and stuff. And it was fun with him. I had a good time, but still we couldn't do it with 2 people, so they had to hire a team now. So we were like 5 or 6 writers now. And that's when it became like, okay, go time, because now the stakes are bigger. They're like, okay, we got to pay all these writers now.
Yeah.
So I remember just working and they're intense, like the Chinese, like just working nonstop, right? And luckily the project fizzled out after about 7 months. 7 months of just disappeared work. And I had so many experiences like that where they start ambitious and then because they're unrealistic, they just fizzle out.
Yeah.
And so that was a time of like China's biggest growth, I feel. It was like, okay, only the ambitious survive, but everyone is just sacrificing their mental health. Like they're just running on fumes, basically.
I think you see that a lot right now in like different tech industries and stuff, because they can just push people as much as they want because they're like, you don't want the job? Here's another person behind you who will take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just telling Brandon, like Technicolor, they like invented color basically, and they're a VFX company employing 4,500 people. They're out of business now.
Oh, really?
As of yesterday, yeah.
What happened yesterday?
They just declared bankruptcy out of nowhere.
Oh.
And that's 4,500 people who are now in the VFX industry because just AI is just clearing that industry out. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too far off topic, but man, AI is going to, if they don't put rules in, it's going to, like, I don't know if it'll destroy society, but it'll
Yeah.
change things so much. It's just like any sort of technical job that you can think of, gone. It's like, think of like any engineer.
yeah,
They won't need engineers anymore. You can be like, design me a building. Boom.
yeah, that's what I've spent a lot of time doing is to AI proof my company. So that's what I like. I see like storytelling as like one of the things that AI will not be able to do.
Yeah. Well, won't be able to do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's even just like monthly, it's clearing out industries, right? And I just see on LinkedIn because now I started posting again in the past couple of weeks. So I just see how it's changed in the year and a half I took off. And oh my God, it's just so many unemployed people, like with the banner open to work, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just in the film industry, it's really bad. And there's one guy, his name's Simon Pullman. He's an entertainment lawyer. And he made a post yesterday. He's like, TV, if you're in TV and film, the best chance you have right now is going all in on yourself because all the jobs are gone right now. So it's a changing world that we're in right now, like literally like right now. And that's causing so much stress and burnout for people, right? Like that unexpectedness is like, is my industry going to be taken over?
Yeah.
Am I going to be taken over? It asks a lot of questions about who we are as humans. Like that if our purpose is taken away, what are we? Like, I don't know what the solution is. Like, is it universal basic income or something?
I mean, no, I think an easier solution is just to put rules in place what AI can do, and then that would be a much simpler solution.
The hard part with that is that China won't, and so to compete, we also need to go
suppose
to their
that's true.
level somehow. And like from what I've seen in China, the level of morality bending is a lot greater there, I feel.
I guess so, but I mean, this is a whole different political conversation we'll get into some other time.
Well,
but
I mean, it's connected to burnout.
I guess so, but it's like you don't have to do what China does. You don't have to. It's like everything we do here, we can just keep doing it. There's no reason that you have to match them. Like maybe you want to match them, and I don't know. So much of it has to do with military and all that kind of crap. But
yeah, all that's changing too.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule part, it's kind of like the government's always one or two steps behind, right?
always, and they're
Like some of those Congress meetings where they're like, "Oh, what is this Facebook? Like explain it to me." Like they don't know what the hell it is, right?
Look what they're doing to like AHS right now, totally dismantling it. And it's such a waste of time and money, and it's not going to make healthcare any better. In fact, it's going to make it worse. But they are just con artists selling
AHS?
people
What?
Alberta Health Services.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're dismantling it now.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that.
Right before your surgery.
Yeah. Am I gonna get it bad? Yeah. So is that what I didn't even hear about that? What's happening?
Like breaking it up into all different sections and stuff the way it used to be like in the 80s before they made AHS. And then they made AHS to make it like more, a better system anyways. And it was much, much better.
Yeah.
And they're saying there's too much wasted money and all this kind of stuff. And this is how they're going to fix it.
Yeah.
saying nothing about that it's an aging population, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. And that's why healthcare is so expensive right now, but they don't mention that.
Yeah.
They just say, oh, it's because of some nonsense.
Is it privatized? Is that
They're trying to privatize it. That they want to destroy it and say, like, look how terrible this is, so they can bring in more private healthcare.
Yeah, that's what one of my neighbors was telling me.
Yeah.
He works for that system. He's like, yeah, it's moving toward privatized. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, it's more American system or
Exactly. And like, look how many Americans are super stressed because they get some crazy medical bill.
Yeah.
Even people who go and like have a baby, a lot of times you're not 100% covered. So you get a $30,000 bill, and they're like, oh, in the end, you only owe $3,000. It's like, you still have to pay $3,000? It's insane.
yeah,
Shouldn't have to pay anything.
right. It's, you got to pay $30K for a kid. Is that?
I mean, I think that's about what it costs in the U.S. Yeah. But I mean, most of the time, your insurance covers the majority of it, but yeah.
So you got away with $60K.
I mean, it costs, it probably costs quite a few $1,000s to have a baby here, right?
Yeah. But for you, did you pay anything?
No,
Because you're covered?
because we pay taxes.
Okay, so it's more, it's that system, okay. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm just like, why doesn't like the Alberta system cover my prescription? Like, why do I have to get Blue Cross for that?
Yeah, well, that's we're talking about bringing in like federal programs for dental. Actually, there is one,
Yeah.
but you have to be like, you have to basically make like no money to qualify.
Yeah.
And then they have talked for a long time about doing one for prescriptions, but they haven't yet.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the dental one was just for kids now. I thought that's what they started with.
The thing too that people don't realize is with like privatized healthcare is things become way, way more expensive. Because when you have public healthcare, you have one customer. So you go to a company who's selling syringes, it's like you sell to this one customer, you're set. Whereas in the US, it's like, oh, you got to sell to like every hospital individually. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think AI will change all of those government systems too. Like Jess was telling me there's I think it's in Shenzhen, because right now Shenzhen and Hangzhou are competing right now within China for like the Silicon Valley
Okay.
moniker or whatever. So, but a lot of people, because a government job in China used to be like represent stability, and you had like influence and you had a long-term life there. But now the governments of those two cities are going all AI. So they're like, oh, now there's all these people on Weibo talking about it, and they're like, yeah, don't like make your kids become like work in the government anymore. So because AI will just replace you, like, so there's just like panic in people now. And what was once a stable job, people are like, don't do it anymore. So it's like all this fear everywhere. And
I mean, yeah, the thing too is like, you never know what the future holds. And so you see all those people that are unemployed, but then you see a whole bunch of people who are fed up in the job they're in right now.
yeah,
But they're like, do I try to change my career?
Yeah.
What if I get fucked? So
Yeah.
I feel like so many people in society are really stuck.
but I think this is the best time to reinvent yourself. And, I was telling Brandon, like, what I'm trying to do right now is I see all these media companies starting to pop up around the world, like people who have been laid off, and they're like, actually, we don't need these big studios anymore. We can just form like, 5 to 10 person studio and build our own stuff. So I'm like, okay, but they're going to have to tell their story, to the world. So that's where I'm going to come in and tell their, founder story and like their testimonials, their how-to, their, educating, they're building a community basically. So I think building a community is going to be like the way forward. At least that's the way I see it. So like, when I went to Austin, Texas, there was that the Indian billionaire who said the future is a battle of ideas over processes, because AI will make, anyone can do anything, but it's going to be about who can have the best story, why you. you're gonna have to tell your audience, like, this is what makes me stand out. Here's my story. And I start to see all these filmmakers now documenting their journey, and they're like building a little community first, because like when the show on Netflix came, it went into obscurity. It just became another thumbnail, right? Because they didn't invest in like a
Marketing
community.
it and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it used to be like the product talked more. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, but now when we went to go see Nuja in the theater, it's like all the trailers are remakes. Like they're
I
just
hate that.
they're just taking existing IP and things that you already know about, so they don't have to onboard you, and there's like a built-in community already. That's what they're gambling, and like they had Sundance Film Festival in the last couple of weeks. That used to be the hot place to sell your indie film. You know how many sales there were? 0. For
Why?
the first time. Like, it just, the industry has changed so much. Like, number one, it was the fires that, it happened during that time.
Okay.
But also, just the industry has just changed so much. And
What, like nobody showed up with their indie movies or something?
yeah, like there's just no one bought them. I mean, they displayed them, but just sales aren't there. Like, that used to be the hot place you would go and to sell your film, like Tarantino and whatever. They would go there, right?
But that's so weird. Why? They're just like, oh, we don't like the stories you're telling, or what?
Just financially, everything's just too risky right now. Like to get your money back. Like, when I came in, like the show on Netflix, usually you would get residuals if it was on a TV show or a movie, right? You get like the back end from the box office. And then, but now the streamers don't do that, right? They took all that away because they have the numbers and they don't have to share the number.
Yeah.
So they just say, it was a success, like, and we have to take their word for it.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to say, okay, 15 million people watched it, right? Unless it's a huge hit, then they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But they won't tell you when it bombs, right? So, just everything become like, when I go on Netflix now, I feel in that stress mode, like that defense mode comes up of like, and right away the movie trailer pops up or a scene will pop up, and sometimes it'll be super loud from like the night before, and it'll just be like, oh my God. And then you flip to the next one and it just starts right away, right? And you cannot think. You're like in a constant state of like, what do I choose? And you just end up choosing some shitty thing. Like we watched Gabby Petito documentary and the Instagram influencer documentary, like that's what you just end up choosing. And I think there's no like, why am I watching this? Like, what?
I mean, I'll start watching something and then I'll watch like 2 episodes or 3 and I'm like, good Lord, this is terrible.
Yeah. So that why is going to become more relevant because like the content, there's so much of it. And, for me growing up, like the image was like a rare thing almost. Like it was like something, you put in the VHS and you see the image just for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you're back to your world, right?
I do think though, part of like what you're talking about is like a big part of the problem is that why don't they go to Sundance, buy these films because they're be way cheaper, right? And they're saying it's too much of a risk because of the marketing and all this. It's like, well, why are you spending so much money on marketing it? It's like there's other ways to do things.
Yeah.
If you set up a YouTube channel like your Paramount or whoever, and you have all your indie films that are coming out, and you put your trailers for it there, so you're not putting it in the theaters, and you're not putting it on commercials and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And people who like indie movies would just go to your YouTube channel and say like, oh, I wonder what's coming out. Oh, look, this.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
I just think there's different ways they could do it, but they are so short-sighted that they won't.
Yeah, and I mean,
It's just like politicians when they get like $1 billion for their campaigns. They put up all these billboards and all this garbage. It's just like, what a complete waste of money.
Have you ever?
My God.
Have you ever passed a billboard and it's like, that billboard changed my mind.
Yeah.
Like now I'm voting for that guy. It's never
Yeah.
a trailer though. I mean that can sway you.
Yeah.
I think one of the big problems too is that everything they're all putting their money into like Marvel
Yeah.
or like it's like okay, just pump out we're putting all the money into here. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at the list of best pictures this year. I hadn't heard of like half of them because it's like oh these movies are amazing. It's like but I've never heard like I've never seen a trailer for any of these, and now I look them out because it's like oh they're nominated and it's like I don't even have the energy to like keep up now, right?
Yeah,
it's
I know, me either.
Because they're just pumping Marvel and all this stuff down your throat that you miss all this other great stuff.
You're just like so inundated with so much content, and you're just like,
except for Superman, that's gonna be awesome.
Or if they want to make any alien movie, I will watch that.
yeah,
for sure.
Did you watch Romulus?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that one. Was it good?
Yeah, I liked it, but I love those movies, so
Yeah.
I'm biased.
I played the game. What was it, Alien Resurrection game? And that is the scariest game I've ever played.
Brad would love that game.
Yeah, you would love it, but I just can't do it because sometimes you have to run away from the alien and you don't know where it is. It goes in a circle, and out of nowhere, it'll just stab you in the back, and you're like, oh my God. And the music is so loud, and you're just like,
And then you don't sleep, and then you're burnt out the next day.
yeah. And it's just, it's, I think the image got cheaper in our lifetime. It lost its like specialness, whereas like before you would be okay paying $15-20 for it because you knew it was kind of special. But now it's just like, oh well, why should I go to the theater when I have it here?
Especially if you already have like Disney Plus and that.
Yeah.
It's like I'll just wait for it to be on there.
Yeah.
It's like I don't care enough about this new Captain America to go spend money on it.
Yeah, because the why isn't there. Like they didn't tell me why I should watch this new Star Wars show or this new Marvel show. It's just like we know it's a money.
Yeah.
It's a product, and we're like the product, right? So like, what's special about that? And I think people are just sick of that, right? So that why will become way more important. Like you'll follow the film from the inception, and you'll see like the hard work from the crew, and it'll like mean something more to you. Like, and the filmmakers it'll mean more to them because a lot of these directors, it's like, who are they now that are doing these? And
It's
like,
true,
they're
yeah.
just for hire for that whatever year or two period, and they're not actually directing really. They're just the puppets, right? They're not the decision maker of oh, can I do this? Or they're not like the David Lynches are gone now, right? So those, but yeah, that's just a changing world. And
Yeah.
we gotta-
I do like when you see random people make some kind of breakthrough, like the guy who made the White Lotus.
yeah.
And he was on one
Binder.
season of Survivor.
Oh, okay.
And he's had like all of his tribe mates in the show in like little cameos at different points.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He also did Enlightenment, right? That show.
Not sure.
That was a good show. Yeah, it's about a woman who is trying to achieve enlightenment, but the world just keeps pulling her down. And it's on HBO, and she just kind of always goes mad somehow. It's
Yeah.
Laura Dern. It's really good. But yeah, White Lotus, I enjoy it, but some people are like, oh, it's just for rich white people. It's like,
I like it because it's so weird, but I like how it also, the first season anyways, it wasn't like big advertisements or anything like that.
Yeah.
People just liked it so much, and word of mouth, made it successful.
Yeah.
And then, you see that with some Netflix shows and stuff, like, I don't know if you watched The Night Agent,
no.
but season 1 was good, and no advertisement for it, but it became like one of their most watched shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, White Lotus. I feel like it has depth to it, and like the music is so good too. That like tribalistic music, like it goes deep, right? So that's what I like about it. But a lot of the content now, it's so surfacey, right?
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. Are we on burnout still?
No, now we're on White Lotus.
But I think that's connected because like sometimes I just feel like as me as well, I just want to have a mind-numbing experience just from exhaustion, like
Yeah.
and you don't want to think, right? Especially as we get older at nights, it's just like I'll just watch anything. Like
There's so many times at nighttime I want to watch something, but I don't want to like get into it, you know? So I'm trying to find something that I've watched before that I can kind of half pay attention to.
Oh yeah, like I don't know how many times like I'll put on a show and it's like I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
The show's playing, it's like I can't, if I'm like tired and exhausted, I can't focus on one thing.
Yeah.
I'm just so out of everything that I'm just like scrolling TikTok or I'm watching half the show and then I'll be like, what did he just say? Like, it's like, I should just put my phone down and pay attention.
yeah,
But
That's actually one of the one of the worst reasons why it sucks so much that they're not making better movies or putting them in theaters anyway. Because I remember when I saw A Quiet Place, it was one of the last times that I went to the theater, like by myself, and it was such an immersive experience because it was, you know, most of the movie is really quiet, right?
yeah.
And whenever there was like a scary part, I couldn't look at my phone. You know, if I was watching like a horror movie at home, sometimes I'll just look at my phone if there's a scary part coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the
so
best
you're
part
just
about
in it.
That's the best part about theaters.
Yeah,
It's like I don't have that option to look at my phone. So I
Yeah.
really focus on the movie. But the problem is there's no good movies coming out.
That's true. I'm that dickhead that has to watch the movie, and if Jess goes on her phone, I'll look at her with that judgment look. Like, hey, look on the screen.
I only do that if I'm trying to show Caitlin a movie that I really like. So it's like she had never seen The Goonies.
I knew you were gonna say that. I don't know why you just popped it. I was gonna say he's gonna say The Goonies, and then you said,
Anyway, she had never seen it. She'd never seen it, so we're watching it, and like she'd look at her phone. I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, it's watch The Goonies."
"What did she think?" She had a
She said,
burnout.
she said she had like it's one of those movies where it's like she had to be young to watch it because like it was nostalgic for me. I love it. I have all these memories of being a kid watching it.
Yeah.
So as an adult, she's like, and it's like however many years old now. She's like, it's fine. I understand why you like it, but she's like, it's not something I'd. But she had never seen Back to the Future either, which she wasn't even a fan of that. So I was
oh,
like-
really? Why not?
She said it was good, but she had like,
The
I'm like,
incest?
oh,
Did it get to her?
what's that?
The incest? Was that the problem?
Yeah, the incest may have been the problem. But
Yeah, also I think just like a change in lifestyle, right? Like did you guys ever like read at night or like when you were younger?
The only time I read at night was when I was trying to get in shape a while ago, and so I'd read a book at night rather than look at my phone because I was going to the gym every day at 5 a.m. So I had to fall asleep. So
Yeah. It's a huge shift. Like growing up, I used to read a lot, but now it's just that pull, right? Of the phone and that world of because that world doesn't have a time. It's like 24/7 always, right? It doesn't shut off. There's no night and day. It's just always there. It just like fucks with your mind. Like,
the times I do read, I really enjoy it, and I'm always like, why don't I do this more?
yeah. I read maybe 3 books in December, but not since then. But yeah, I would like to get back into that rhythm a little more of like learning, and it's also like that content is it because for me growing up, it did become an addiction in a way. in the sense that like I did use it to start avoiding things. And I think a lot of us now do that as well. Like we just, maybe we don't, is it just exhaustion or we don't want to deal with our shit so that we just distract ourselves? And
Part of that, and I think a big part is attention spans too.
well,
Like, oh God, I've been 2 seconds without something happening.
yeah, like the whole attention span thing's very weird to me. It's either like 2 seconds or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you can be immersed. Like there are podcasts and stuff that I'm completely immersed in. Like it's just about finding the right, I guess, the mood as well, with the right content, with the right guest or whatever. It can be like super beneficial.
Yeah.
Where sometimes I'm just like, oh, they're talking to me directly. They're like hearing what I'm going through, And
Some I really like, and then you start listening to it and you're driving somewhere and it's like a 2 hour long podcast. After you've driven around for, I don't know, listen to it for like a few days and it's a sports podcast, you're just like, okay, well, this is long over now, what they're talking about.
yeah. Well, for me, I can't play podcasts in the Jeep, so I'm reduced to the radio.
Why don't you just get like a deck?
Well, I don't know, that would be expensive, right?
I actually have no idea.
Why don't you just get like a mini speaker for your phone?
I could do that. I actually like traditional radio because I just hate it
Yeah,
so
you're a big
much.
fan of Jack FM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just somehow like makes me think of other things. Like it'll be like the radio will be on, but I'll just be thinking of different while I'm driving. Yeah. Do you guys ever just like drive and then you're like unconsciously driving? Like,
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
that's scary that everyone's doing that.
That like you'll just be like, you'll wind up at home and you're like, how did I get here? Yeah. That's part of burnout though.
Yeah,
Because
think
your brain's trying to just turn off.
Yeah, because I mean, life now is so like there's just so much going on all the time. Like this notification, and then I gotta cook dinner, and then and it's just like starts adding up,
Yeah.
and then it's just for me it just kind of like comes to a crash sometimes. Like, this morning we woke up at 5:30, Jess had like a class to teach at 6. So then it just felt like such a long day. And it's just like I'm running on fumes. And then like 30 minutes before Brandon comes here, it's just everything just starts disconnecting. While I'm like, and Jess had to tell me like, breathe. And she's like, sometimes you just get lost. Like, remember you have feet. That's what she told me. And then like, put your energy to your feet. So I have to remember, I'm like a human. That's like, not perfect and shit happens. But it's just that overwhelmingness. It's always present, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like when people say, oh, take a day off or you need a vacation, would you like during that vacation turn your phone off, or would you give yourself that space?
I guess, I mean, I have 2 little kids. There's no such thing as a vacation right now. But if I did have a vacation that was actually my time, I used to love like sitting by a pool or sitting on the beach and reading. So I would do that again.
But now would you bring your phone?
I mean, yeah, now I would.
So, I mean,
No, that's what I'm saying is like right now with 2 little kids, I'd bring my phone. Because if I had a second, I'd look at my phone because I wouldn't be able to get into a book. So
yeah, I see. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we don't give ourselves those moments sometimes of just being silent.
yeah,
That's rare. Like I try and meditate like 15 minutes every morning before I get into things, but sometimes I'll just like walk baka and then just open the computer and then put on a podcast and then start thinking of, scheming, as Jess puts it, and I'll just get lost in that. And then it'll be like, oh shit, 9 p.m. It's like the whole day will just pass and I didn't give myself any space.
When's the last time you went for a walk or anything and didn't listen or have anything? Like just walked with your thoughts?
Well,
because I can't do it.
I take vodka every day. I don't listen to anything.
You don't listen to anything.
No.
You just go with your thoughts?
Yeah.
See, that's good. I wish I could do that.
You have to. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
That's also like, I think, connected to death. Because for me, silence is death. So I'm scared of like being alone somehow. And I've struggled with that for years of like that. I always had to like listen to a podcast or something like to fill that silence, or else it's just like, oh shit, I'm gonna die.
That might be something else you need to.
But like, you can. Why not? What's the reason?
Because I just get bored with my thoughts. I'm like, it's almost like it's like I need something to distract me.
So are you worried or something? Or what do you mean bored?
No, it's like even at work, it's like I can't do just my work. I always have to have something playing. I'm always listening to a podcast or music or something. So even like if I go for a walk or whatever, I always need something like to stimulate my brain almost.
Yeah, see, I think that's a huge contributor to burnout.
Oh, 100%.
We're like, this is what is connected to my meltdown, because I didn't have that space to process things. If you're just always distracted, you're not actually like going through things, you're just delaying it. It's like the door wants to be open, but it's just closed, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something we need to, like what you said in the future with your kids, maybe there'll be a movement against all this tech shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
I think there will be, yeah. I do want to talk about one more thing, just because it popped in my head.
Sure.
So my brother, during Stampede, he does this thing called Courtesy Car. And anyone who's like a VIP or whatever at Stampede, they'll drive them around. And anyways, one of the people he drove was a psychologist, and she was working on this paper saying that if you're working on a problem, a good thing to do is, really think about it and then step away and do something completely different, and your subconscious will work through that problem.
Yeah.
And so when you come back to it, lots of times you'll be able to solve it right away.
Yeah.
Because your subconscious has been working on it the whole time.
Yeah, well, I interrupted you.
That's okay. And I was going to say, I used to be super into puzzles, and I used to do that all the time. You kind of get stuck. So then you walk away for like half an hour or longer. When you come back, suddenly you're just like, oh, there's the piece. And it all comes together.
No, it's the same with me with writing. It's like, if I'm stuck on a scene or something, it's like I have to go for a walk. Mm-hmm. I have to give myself that space. But I just haven't written anything of my own for a while. So, but I think that's also another contribution as to why the films suck now and why art sucks now, and like, because the artists are just in their podcast all the time, not like solving the problems. They're just being distracted by other stuff that they think will make them get better, but really it's just, we're just forgetting most of it, right? It becomes one blur, all these podcasts and stuff. Like,
yeah.
You might remember like 10% or whatever. Like, at least I do. I don't, there's just too much content.
Yeah,
like,
there's way too much. Yeah.
It's like on LinkedIn, like how many posts do you actually remember? Like 0, really. You just remember how the person made you feel during that time, but you don't actually remember the content.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're in this like dream stage. Of the world.
Except for the Mental Man podcast, where you'll remember 100%.
We want you to listen all the time.
And not think about death.
This podcast is meant to distract you from death.
Yeah.
The impending
This
death.
podcast is brought to you by the Grim Reaper. All right. So I think, is that it?
Yeah, I think that's the
episode?
show.
Yeah. That's
All right.
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Don't burn out. Take
Yes,
care of
thank you.
yourself. Give yourself some space, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks.